Welcome back to Delicious and Nutritious, where we use the best quality ingredients to cook the tastiest food. Today we are going to get down on one of my favorite things in the world. It has been for a long time, but at some point I started to lose tolerance to peanut butter, and the chocolate that they use is not the best. We're gonna do mimicked Reese's Pieces butter cups, right? Reese's peanut butter cups are absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite things to get on Halloween. But unfortunately, that candy is not so great for you. So today, Dr. Axe has an absolutely amazing sunflower butter cup recipe. I absolutely love this recipe. We aren't really gonna modify too much of this. I'm gonna give you the ingredients that I use, and then we're gonna start getting down on everything that we have to do here. This is amazing. I am so excited to bring this recipe to you guys. So before we get into it, we obviously wanna know what we're gonna need. We're gonna need some coconut oil as well. This one, we're not really doing too much cooking with it, so it can be either refined or unrefined. Remember, the refined one is the best for cooking. Secondly, we're gonna need some type of salt. We can have pink Himalayan sea salt, or we can have gray sea salt. Those are the two ones that I choose. And then we're gonna need some dark chocolate. I choose the Lily's dark chocolate baking chips. Lily's has recently introduced one that has milk in it. So if you do not want, or you are intolerant to milk, or you stay away from dairy, such as I do, this particular one does not have it. Check out this package. This is the one that you guys are gonna wanna check out right here, as opposed to one of the other ones. I believe the new one has like a white front on it, and then on the back it will say have milk in it. So that's gonna be it. And you can also use any type of butter. However, we're gonna use the sunflower butter as is recommended. Sunflower butter is a little bit more on the kind of tart side. It's a little bit more bland. However, in this recipe, because we're gonna be mixing it with medjool dates, it tastes amazing and it comes out fantastic. And then finally, we have one more ingredient, as always, is going to be the vanilla flavoring, and I choose to use the one that is non-alcoholic with glycerin in it. And then our trusty couple things that we need some teaspoons, we need some measuring cups, and then if you guys have been hearing me quite frequently, we are gonna use a food processor. I'm telling you, food processor is the healthy dessert cooker's best tool. I'm telling you, that thing is amazing. Then we're gonna have, if you care, large baking cups, and we have our trusty silicone muffin sheet. So on this recipe, the only thing that we're kind of modifying is it calls for a mini cupcake tray and mini baking cups, which you can totally do, but I don't have either of those, and I don't really care to go out and buy either of those. So they're just gonna be extremely large sunflower butter cups. So if you would prefer to have the smaller ones to be a lot more replica of what you would typically get, I would go out and purchase. You can purchase, make sure to get, if you're gonna do the non-silicone ones, make sure to get eco-friendly ones, or if you're gonna do the silicone ones, you get that. And then you're gonna have to match up. The If You Care does have smaller ones. These are gonna be the large baking cups, but they definitely do have smaller ones. So with all that said, let's start getting into the recipe. So at first, it calls for 3 cups of baking chips. So this is gonna be the dark chocolate. Like I said, we're gonna use Lily's. This one does not have sugar in it. This one is going to be sweetened with stevia. That's why I'm a big fan of this one. I try to cut down as much of cane sugar as possible when eating. And this actually calls for a double broiler to melt these, which means the bottom is gonna have water and then it's gonna heat up the top basket that's gonna sit in it. But I don't have that, so I'm just gonna caution you guys, if you do this, how I'm gonna do it, to make sure to cook it on a very, very low temperature. So 3 cups of the baking chips. And the reason why chocolate is always done with the broiler like that is because it can burn really easily. And so we do not want that to happen. So we're gonna use our trusty Ozeri pan, and we're just gonna be very cautious in the background when cooking this particular recipe. It's gonna be melting. You're gonna wanna stir it a little bit more frequently. So we are going to need 3 cups, cup number 1, cup and a half. All right, so each of these packages is going to be 1.5 cups, so it's perfect, as all you need is 2 packages of the Lily's dark chocolate baking chips. If you want to have not dark chocolate, I believe that it's probably gonna have milk in it, but you can totally do that. I would just caution you guys, if you wanna stay away from the milk, it's gonna be dark chocolate. I think the dark chocolate and the sunflower butter comes out absolutely fantastic, so that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be stirring it frequently as we start to food process the middle part. So 3 cups, look at this. This is That's amazing. It's gonna come out so good. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And then to add in here, we're gonna want 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. Go ahead and I'll grab I've already melted it a little bit, as I do tell you guys to do. Boom, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, which helps with the melting process to make sure that the chocolate doesn't really burn. That's really important. And then finally, we want the 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So the vanilla's 1 teaspoon going right in there. I prefer when I'm doing the vanilla because I think vanilla is like a delicacy. It's not a cheap herb or spice or whatever you want to call it. It is definitely not. So I like to, if I can, use the coconut oil in one of the measuring spoons first, and then I put the vanilla, and then it really takes away from getting some vanilla stuck in there. It all comes out so much easier. Okay, so if you don't have the double boiler, what you're gonna wanna do is put it on low heat, and then I would cover it. And a great thing for the recipes is the cooking silicone utensils. Super easy, just stir it. I wouldn't say super frequently, but definitely frequently enough, but having the top on it is gonna start to melt it all together. But the goal is to keep it stirred and not in one space, because that's really what can do the burning. And that's what the double boiler really prevents, is because it's just using the water to heat it up as opposed to direct flame underneath the chocolate. And now while that is going to be melting, we can start making the filling, which is going to require sunflower butter, the dates, and a little bit of coconut oil. So I like to start off with the coconut oil first. Coconut oil is going right in here. And I'm using the same one that I had the vanilla in. A little bit of residue from the vanilla didn't hurt anybody. It's all going into the same recipe. You will not know the difference at all. And next, we are gonna use our sunflower butter. Organic, very important. If you can find sprouted, it would probably be the best idea. This one is not sprouted. This one's gonna be roasted. And so if you think about it, 3 tablespoons, that's like 3 regular size spoonfuls. So if you do want a little bit more, you can put a little bit more in here. If you wanna have just more filling in there, which I do personally like, so I'm going to do 4 tablespoons. There is 2. And they're slightly heaping for me as well. 3 and 4. And so when I do this modifications, it's my recommendations for you guys. I have cooked these multiple times. So if you do wanna follow the recipe exactly and just see how it comes out, you can do that. But I just know I prefer a little bit more filling in mine as opposed to a little bit less. And just remember, the sunflower butter is a very tart, very kind of bland butter as opposed to a lot of the other butters. So the medjool dates are really gonna be the difference maker in this dish. And then finally, we have a teaspoon of sea salt. It's great to have an already ground sea salt, at least for baking and healthy desserts purposes, because if you don't, you're gonna be taking a grinder and you're gonna be sitting over a bowl and grinding it and grinding it and grinding it and then measuring it and realizing you don't have enough and grinding it some more. So just get yourself 2 different ones. You have the grinder that can be over your food and everything like that, and then you have the ground one that's gonna be used for baking. And I just bought a big one and I put it in a jar because I don't wanna keep resealing all the packages and everything like that. So that's what I have here. The light gray salt has the most mineral content, as always. This one has a little bit less, but still really high up there. Both of these two are the best salts to use when cooking. It brings not just the sodium spike that you know of in the bloodstream and the constriction. When it's accompanied with all the minerals, it doesn't really have that effect. It's a much different effect on the body as opposed to just regular table salt that only does blood vessel constriction and the typical modern day society of what we know that salt is bad, when that's not really the case. We're really adapt for having sodium in our body, especially if we move a lot, and we really want those trace minerals in there as well to help replenish everything that we're sweating out when we are moving. It's actually very important for us. And then it's calling for a 1/4 cup. Bing, look what we have here. I wonder where that came from. 1/4 cup of medjool dates and medjool also. So this is basically sugar-free. I mean, you're gonna get some sugar with the dates, but we're not adding actual sugar. So I'm gonna go for a 1/4 cup. It looks like it's gonna be about 2 dates, and I've already taken the pits out of these. This one is pitted. Please do note if they are pitted or not. You do not wanna put it into the food processor and get stuck with having a pit in there and you hear it grinding and then you're wondering, oh my gosh, do I have an actual pit in there? So if you want a little bit sweeter, remember, dates are extremely sweet. Extremely sweet. So I'm going with 3 right there. Those are pitted, they're ready to go. Medjool dates, organic, very important because you do eat the skins on these ones. Remember, that's one of the things that we always look for. If it has a skin and we're eating the skin, we want it to be organic. And also, if you do not have a food processor and you don't feel like purchasing one, I totally get it. You can also use a high-powered blender as well. You're just gonna have to, when the blender blends the nut butters, it kind of like gets up on the side, so you're gonna have to have some type of spatula to be able to push it down, obviously not while it's on. Or if you have one that's on and you can stir it with the blender spoon, I guess you would call it, whatever that thing is. But it's not that much, so it doesn't climb up enough to do that. So you have to turn the blender on, start to do it, try to mix the ingredients, and then you'll have to turn it off, let the blades stop, and then push it down and get it really down into those blades and turn it back on again. That's why I'm just a big fan of the food processor anytime I get to use it. This is an older one, guys. This is nothing crazy fancy. It's really not. It's an older one. It's just got high or low, on, off, and pulse. And it works fantastic. My brother got a new one and it has like so many features and settings, and I'm like, dude, I don't even want anything to do with that. I don't need anything crazy on this. I just want it just how it is, like this. So even with the food processor, it's still building up a little bit on the walls. So this is where the spatulas come into play. The silicone spatulas are crazy amazing. Look at that, just scraping the walls right there super easily and putting it right back in there. You're gonna want to really try to make sure you get all the dates ground up in there. You do not want to leave any chunks of dates because that's gonna be like a really sweet experience for somebody as opposed to like a balanced overall one. So we're going back in with the dates to really try to blend those up a little bit more. Okay, there it is. That's the next round. One more time getting in there. It looks like they're really starting to blend up. I really try to get it in there because sometimes it builds up. These spatulas are truly crucial when you're cooking. With any type of blender or any type of food processor, they're super, super helpful. I never knew that I needed one until I took a cooking class and I was like, oh my gosh, look how easily that thing just scrapes the walls. And I also turned it down to low. Didn't feel like it was splattering as much. Okay, so the chocolate is pretty much done. Remember, low heat. Mine was a little higher than low heat, so I had to modify it just a little bit. So that's the one thing about multitasking while you're cooking. So here we go. I just wanna put a forefront notice for you guys before you start in on this. If you are putting it in the pan, the goal is not to cook this. We are just melting it. So you're gonna have to be very attentive for it. I honestly, before this round, if you guys wanna check out a quick look of what it's gonna look like if you overcook chocolate, it overcooks very easily and very fast. So you can't just throw it on the oven or the stove and hope that it comes out good. You have to be very attentive to it because we're not trying to cook it. We're just heating it up enough for it to become liquid like this at room temperature. So it's not burnt, it's perfect right now. So now what we have to do, you can transfer this a little bit, which probably would be the best idea, or get a spoon, I would say. That's a challenging one because we virtually just want to pick this up and we want to put a little bit in the bottom. This is going to be a 3-layer process. So we're going to put some in the bottom and then we are going to freeze it and then we're going to put the middle in there. And then it's going to be a little bit messy, but man, this is a much different experience than what was before. We're going to freeze it again. And then we are gonna put the top on it and that's gonna seal in the butter in the middle. So it's gonna take a little bit of waiting time just to let the chocolate freeze on the bottom. We're almost there for the bottom. You don't have to do too much on the bottom because remember, we do have to do some on the top. And it just depends where you want most of the chocolate for you. And you want it to just kind of like lay in there and cover up the whole bottom. That's the goal. Obviously we can move it a little bit, but as soon as it gets out of this pan, it's gonna start basically getting to the consistency that it is. So I'm just gonna take this and move this chocolate around just a little bit just to make sure that it covers all the bottom. It's still melted right now. It doesn't go too fast. And yes, it is a little bit messy unless you guys transfer it. But the risk of transferring it, and this is what I don't like to do, is you lose some chocolate to a different bowl and then to the frying pan. And I don't want to lose any chocolate. So I'd rather have a little bit of mess. And the chocolate, as soon as it freezes, it's going to be hard. You can just pop it right out. We have the bottom of our sunflower butter cups. You can see it right there. And we're just going to go ahead and put this right into the freezer and we'll be right back. So while that is freezing, we are gonna reach over here. We are going to grab our trusty sunflower butter for the middle. And then we're just gonna stir it up a little bit. I definitely could go a little bit harder on blending this, but I'm good with it. Now remember guys, if you want more nut butter, you can put more nut butter in here because we're freezing this, remember? So it just depends how bulky you want the middle to be. If you want it to be less bulky, then use the 3 tablespoons or 4 tablespoons. If you want it a little bit more bulky, which I kind of do, I'm gonna put a little bit more, and I really like bulky nut butter cups. And then we're just gonna go ahead, so this is probably another tablespoon and a half. I've done this so many times, I'm totally cool with it. And after this, everything is okay to try. You can test it to see if you want it to be a little sweeter, but just remember, you're getting some sweetness, even though it's a little bittersweet from the chocolate and then the dates. So you don't want to get it too sweet, but you're gonna have to try it for yourself and see what works best for your taste buds. Okay, and there we have it. We are officially done right there. That is good. Looking real good. A lot more congealed, a little bit more bulk, just as I like it. We are ready. And please don't be afraid to try the middle. Just to make sure it's good. And just remember, it might taste a little bitter, guys, but we have sweetness in the chocolate, dark chocolate, the nut butter cups. It's gonna come to, ooh, it's gonna be amazing. And we have the sunflower butter cups right here. Look it, super hard. Like as soon as you're done, they're ready to go. Look, we already have the base. You can already see them starting to come together. So now we're just gonna put all of the sunflower butter mixture in here. And this is gonna be a little bit more challenging because it's sunflower butter. It's a much different experience than just pouring something. It's chunkier. And once again, you decide which one you like better. Do you like more filling or do you like less filling? You're gonna wanna obviously get it all the way around these. So you can see I put, I think 2 or 3 extra tablespoons than what it was calling for. And that's what it's gonna look like. So if you're using the straight recipe, it's gonna be a whole lot less, which I'm a fan of more, like I have talked about. So make these what they are for you. These are your treats, guys. Get comfortable, do the recipe once, and then get comfortable to see which variation, if you wanna vary it, if you wanna use my variation, if you wanna keep to theirs, you like a little bit more chocolate, or you like a little bit more of the sunflower butter. I'm telling you, the spatulas for this are so incredibly clutch. There's no way I would be efficiently doing this without a spatula. You lose so much of the content in the middle of this. It's crazy, even a blender. This thing will get around the blades in the bottom of the blender. It's great. And so now we want to spread it evenly throughout, because remember, we're gonna be putting the chocolate that's still liquid over here on top. And there we go. So now we have one more trip to the freezer, and then we're gonna finish off with the chocolate, which is still liquid, which is good because it's not cooked. Remember, it's just warmed up just enough to turn it into liquid. It's like coconut oil, and then it doesn't really go back until it either gets cold or it sits out for a very long period of time. And we have round number 3. So this chocolate, I didn't want it to go too much in the wrong direction, is now going to have to go over the top here and cover up our cups to make these sunflower butter cups. So some of you guys may think about the sunflower butter and be like, man, it's really not that appetizing by itself, which is true. But when you do add in the dates, the vanilla, the sea salt, guys, it really starts to change the taste of it and makes it a lot more peanut buttery. So it truly does make a difference. And once again, the spatula coming in big time to really get all this chocolate off the pan, because we do really want to use every last bit of chocolate here as I dress my counter with drizzled chocolate. Man, we are running out. Going for every last bit that we can possibly get. I'm probably gonna have to scrape it off the spatula as well just to make sure. Look at how much extra you can get off the spatula right there. We definitely have some places where we don't have quite enough chocolate. Probably could have used a little bit more, even though this was 3 cups. Alrighty, we are all dirty, but the cups look cool, and it kind of looks cool with the drizzle in between, but they're going right back in the freezer. Or if you want to put a little bit more sea salt, what you can do, a cool little thing is to sprinkle a little bit of sea salt right in the middle of the chocolate. It's really gonna do it justice, just like that. You can try one, see how you like it, and go from there. So back to the freezer, and then we're gonna try it together and finish this all up. And there we have it. They are pretty much done. They can definitely freeze a little bit more, but when you're gonna eat them, you're gonna wanna thaw them just a little bit, as most of these no-bake desserts are going to be, but boy, do they look good. Let's pop one out here so that you guys can see this together. We can try it together. I want you guys to see this. So the middle is still a little bit liquidy, but look how that came out. Just break that off. It's perfect, right? It can definitely freeze a little bit more, but the outside of the chocolate's already frozen. So without further ado, drum roll please. Let's try it out. Oh man, I'm telling you, they're so good, especially for me, like having a little bit extra of the nut butter, and obviously you can see, you wanna have it in there for a while. They are gonna be a little bit hard, but they're so good. I gotta take another bite. So those are gonna be sunflower butter cups. This is a Reese's Pieces replacement in your life. Once you start eating this, you're gonna forget how they taste. You're gonna go back to them and they're just gonna taste different to you, because now you're eating the healthy, real food as opposed to processing chemicals. So I just wanna say thank you guys so much for taking your time out of your day and cooking with me. It's such a joy. I'm so thankful for all you guys being here. So I can't wait to make more delicious and nutritious recipes with you guys so we can keep changing the world one bite at a time.